a lonely spectator, only one spectator. We can rewrite these bizarre stories about any perception we have of the external world. In all cases, a dark, vague, irremovable, and unavoidable space exists between, on the one hand, the actual external world, and on the other, the mental consciousness of the I, who is the final receiver of the processed data. Our observations are not direct and first-hand, but internal productions. The brain creates them for us. Therefore, we can perceive only what the brain has created, not the actual reality out there. It does not matter how similar the mental image is to the external object. This is not that. Period. As a side note, in the case of hearing, for example, even the supposition that the brain recreates sound is incorrect, because no sound actually exists in the physical world. It might be possible to claim for vision that the brain somehow recreates the images of external realities, but that is not true for sound. The brain somewhat creates sound. To be more precise, the brain creates the hearing experience independent of the external world. The creation of a mental sensation is quite different from the recreation of a real physical external entity. The same goes for some other issues, such as colors. As these issues are not the concern of this discussion, however, I will not pursue this matter any further. Ultimately, it is my brain that creates the whole universe for me. By my brain, I mean nothing other than that mass of fat in my skull. It is my brain that visualizes a complete world and screens it for me like a movie in a theater. This is a single spectator theater in which I am the only one present. Furthermore, my theater is isolated from the external world, as well as from other theaters. There is no direct link among them. The scenes screened at these theaters might be about a common subject, but each theater shows its own unique movie for its own single spectator. The spectators are isolated from one another and condemned to sit in their solitude, watching their own creations. What we conceive as our surroundings are nothing but scenes in this movie. Each person has his or her own mind and his or her own world. None of these worlds is what lies out there. What is out there is real and authentic, and what is in the mind is just a self-made image, an illusion that makes us mistake a picture for the real thing. Another subtle point that I am trying to make here is that the aforementioned conclusions are extended to other people just as much as to everything else in the self-made universe of the mind. This verdict applies to them, too. Those mental persons are not excluded from these conclusions. The people whose existence I feel in my mind are not the ones in the real world. They are creatures of my mind. I think them. I imagine them. My mind fancies them. These characters are of my own making. I am facing characters who have been created by my own brain and my own nervous system. My brain's processor has produced them. The person I observe is not the same as that actual being who lives out there. Not only understanding, accepting, and knowing this fact, but even comprehending it logically and analytically poses a great shock to the human psyche. I meet and contact different people every day. I live with them. They have physical reality out there. But I am not in contact with those realities. This is one of the fundamental issues to which I will return later. Breathing. Having discussed seeing, hearing, and touching, it is time to discuss another important bodily experience, that is, breathing. The case of breathing is quite interesting because we are constantly doing it. It is always with us, day and night, asleep or awake, sitting or walking. In short, whether we are doing something or not doing anything at all, we breathe. Other activities might be interrupted by short or long intervals. But breathing is continuous. It starts from the moment of birth and continues constantly up till the final moment of life. The body stops living as soon as breathing stops. A person might be blind or deaf, but cannot be short of an active respiratory system. Therefore, breathing should be discussed in detail. I breathe. Let us examine the process of breathing precisely. You believe that you are the one doing the breathing. You believe that you are the one inhaling and exhaling and keeping this continuous flow. You feel that if you stop breathing, the process will stop, and you will face problems. Is it not so? Do you think or feel otherwise? If so, naturally, you should feel that the air is inhaled and exhaled automatically without requiring your participation. But most probably you do not feel that, no matter what your logic and reasoning may tell you. Most probably, you feel that you are the one doing the breathing, the constant inhaling and exhaling procedure. However, it is interesting to note that we have this sense of agency and active presence in the process so long as we are paying attention to breathing. But as soon as we think about something else, or go to sleep, for example, we do not have the feeling that we need to do the breathing. In other words, we never feel the need to willfully breathe and continue breathing when we are not conscious of it. What is the source of this contradiction? Why don't we have a problem when we are not paying attention to our breathing, but as soon as we become conscious of it, we feel an urge to breathe, fearing that otherwise our breathing will stop and we will suffocate? Stop breathing for a few seconds willingly in order to see your mind's reaction and the strong sense you have of the necessity of active breathing. We experience the necessity of willfully inhaling and exhaling as soon as we consciously start to think about them, as if it were us doing the breathing, and if we stopped, everything would collapse, resulting in our death. The interesting point is that we need to do something not to breathe, but we don't need to do anything to breathe. Breathing can occur automatically, and it does so most of the time, whether we are conscious of it or not. The illusion that I am breathing results in a disruption of its natural and automatic flow. It is interesting to see how a mere act of directing attention to breathing transforms it from an automatic act into one that appears to be intentional. When we are not attentive to our breathing, for instance, when we are busy with our chores or are sleeping, we do not feel the need to control our breathing, nor is there any need for such control. The truth is that I breathe is as absurd as I see. I is not breathing. Breath is breathed, and I does not have any role in it. Breathing was there from the instant we were born, when self-awareness in the form of I was not yet formed. It has always been and continues to be in sleep, in wakefulness, and in all of our everyday experience without any need for our presence or control. It is a fallacious belief to consider yourself the breather. There is no breather. The body does the breathing by itself and has no need for your interference or even your presence. There is also a misconception about the physics of breathing. We believe that we draw air into the lungs through the nose or mouth when we inhale, and blow it out when we exhale. This is completely wrong and one of the funniest misconceptions of the mind, which tricks us into believing such a notion. In reality, no air is drawn in by the nose or mouth. What actually happens is that the expansion of the lungs creates a difference in air pressure that causes the air to enter the lungs automatically. That is, the mouth, the nose, and even the lungs have no pumping role in inhaling. What happens is that the lungs are expanded, and then the air automatically enters that expanded space. In fact, it is the external air pressure that pushes the air into the nose, and not the suction power of the mouth or nose to draw air in. Compare this actual physical procedure of breathing to our ordinary assumption. Isn't it funny? In order to get a better understanding of the issue, try to experience the real process of breathing as it happens automatically, free from illusions. Sit, or preferably lie down, and try to experience breathing as it really occurs. You will soon realize that this is not an easy task because the mind vehemently resists the fact that breathing is done by itself. The conscious mind stubbornly wants to control the process of inhaling and exhaling. It does not want to accept that. A few moments earlier, breathing was done automatically. We are not ready to stop breathing so easily. What is the source of this resistance? Why should it be so hard for the mind to consciously leave this automatic process alone, even for a moment? This question can arise with every breath we take. Ask yourself this question tonight with every breath you take when you are lying in your bed, ready to go to sleep. Feel your mind's resistance to leave breathing as it is. Watch its fear of letting go. Sense its bizarre and irrational fear of automatic breathing. What do you think is the reason behind this fear?